Okay, a brand new statue is going to be unveiled in Newry later on this year. It's this, actually, footballing legend Pat Jennings. And to tell us more about the project, which has actually been put together by my good friend Kevin McAllister. I'm pleased to say footballing legend Gerry Armstrong and music legend Tommy Sands join us now in the studio. Guys, welcome. Good to see both of you. And good to see you here to talk about this today, this very special statue. This is just the model of it, and already this is very heavy, so imagine what the real thing's going to look like when it's unveiled.
Many tons. I'm told it's going to be, the actual statue is going to be 7 feet tall, and then the plinth is going to be 4, so it's going to be pretty tall.
And the guy behind it who's doing this is a guy who was responsible for the Beatles statue and lots of other big stars.
Pelé and all, he's supposed to be the best in the UK, so we're very pleased. I mean, the actual statue there, that's only a small version of it, but it looks really impressive. You can see Pat, the way he held the ball in one hand, which is signified Pat Jennings, and his stance, everything's perfect. It looks great.
And it's the first thing you notice when you see Pat and you meet him for the first time, is the size of his hands.
Well, it came in handy on a lot of occasions. I was on the park when he used to shout Pat's ball or keeper's ball, and he would come running out and he'd put one hand up and he'd catch it and pull it down with one hand. And, you know, we were amazed way back in the mid-70s when Pat was doing this, but he was so special. In my opinion, he was the best goalkeeper in the world for around 4 or 5 years.
Wow, we'll talk more about your memories in a second, but Tommy, everybody in Newry has a special affection for Pat. In fact, everybody in Northern Ireland has a special affection for him, don't they?
Very much so. I knew Pat a long time ago, and then I knew him through his football and appearing on television, just like Gerry. In fact, it's great to be close to you, Gerry, here. I've seen you before at events like this, but in fact, we were looking for you outside there earlier on, and we all get lost before we came. but I was sort of looking out for a green jersey, and because I associated you by scoring goals and things like that, but you were dressed just like the rest of us. But I think Pat was very important and is very important to the whole area, and just looking at the statue there, it's a very interesting one because it gives a sense of both movement forward and safety. You know, when you see the ball in his hands, you know that's safe.
Yes, yeah.
And I think one of the whispers that you would hear when Pat would arrive home would be, "Big Pat Jennings is here."
Yeah.
And suddenly the atmosphere changed.
Yeah.
There was a sense of excitement, all right, but there was a sense of neighbourliness and shelter, and you felt good.
Yeah.
And I think, and Pat transcended all sorts of barriers and divisions.
Well, he's used his celebrity over the years for so much good, really, hasn't he?
Well, exactly. Because being a celebrity like Pat or Gerry or anyone who would be in front of people, it's a big opportunity to do things. And both Gerry and Pat, I remember often I mentioned to him, a friend was sick or ill, and a nephew of mine actually who had leukemia, and he came down, and again somebody says, "Big Pat Jennings is here," and suddenly everything changed. And so it's my memory of him. And in fact, I wrote a bit of a song which I wanted to sing for you tonight, but my throat is not too good at the minute. But I'll give you a chorus of it just to illustrate that.
Yeah.
Tell me, have you seen him sailing through the air, diving like a swallow when the crowds go crazy? Still you hear them whisper, "No need to fear, Big Pat Jennings is here." And so
that's brilliant.
Thank you.
Gerry, you obviously knew Pat for many years, both on and off the pitch as well. Do you remember your first meeting with him?
1975 when I signed for Spurs,
Yeah.
and I mean he was the star at White Hart Lane, and there was a lot of stars there with Martin Chivers and Steve Perryman and co, but Pat was a superstar.
Yeah.
And it was a year later, 1976, I had my first call up for Northern Ireland, and we were flying out to Israel and for a friendly match, and Dave Clements was the manager, and Pat couldn't go on the Sunday with the rest of the squad. He came in on the Monday because he was receiving the PFA award. Now, to get the PFA award is something special.
Yeah.
And he got it on 2 separate occasions, Pat. So it tells you how good he was and how much esteem he was held in with other professional footballers. But, you know, I watched him play and make saves that no other goalkeeper in the world could make. And he just give you that assurance. And certainly in the international team, when we played out in Spain and in Mexico, we had that assurance. We always had Pat Jennings behind us, and that made you feel a little bit safer, you know.
And of course, he was a big part of 1982, and we celebrated that last year with the Spirit of 82 event in the Europa, which was a fabulous night, wasn't it?
It was great to get all the lads there, so many of them turning up, Jimmy Nicholl and Pat, and of course Martin O'Neill and John McClellan. I mean, it was fantastic turnout, and we had a ball, didn't we? It was real fun. I have to say, it was a great night. And 40 years, I can't believe it was 40 years, Robin.
Yeah.
But wonderful memories, you know.
Well, keep the memories going, because there's some photographs in front of you, Gerry, there.
Yeah.
If you would like to talk us through those. Who's that guy in the first one there?
I mean, he just commanded respect.
Yeah.
When he had the ball in his hands, or in one hand, he commanded respect. And what he did on the park was amazing. And he broke all sorts of records.
Yeah.
You know, he broke records for Tottenham. He broke records, you know, for Arsenal. He broke records for Northern Ireland. He was had the most caps, 119 caps he had for Northern Ireland. And, you know, this is when I remember him as well. You can see there Jimmy Nicholl alongside him was Pat, and Pat could kick the ball the full length of the pitch.
Wow.
You know, he could hit the ball, and the ball would suddenly come down to me and Billy Hamilton. We were trying to get on the end of it on the opposition's penalty area, which was fantastic. And that one there against, you can see, it looks like it's Graham Roberts, I think it is, for England. And Pat, how high is he was a great athlete. He could jump above everybody. He had wonderful spring in his feet and making saves. That's what he was good at.
And of course, Pat and George Best are very close. They shared a room and all together way back in the beginning, didn't they?
He was, Pat, 20 odd years he played international football. I did 10 years now. The first 10 years Pat did was with George.
Yeah.
And that's George and Billy Bingham, our manager, back in the 60s. And they made their debut together, 1967, I think it was, against Wales. And Northern Ireland beat Wales in Wales 3-2. Wow. And that was George and Pat's debut together at the same time. And there's a great action shot there of George.
Oh, brilliant!
You know, wonderful, wonderful shots. And then this one is from the World Cup in '82, before the big game against Spain.
Brilliant.
That was the team that performed so well that night. You know, all heroes, every one of them.
And of course, when you guys were playing at the height of the Troubles and stuff, I mean, Pat kind of bridged that divide between the two communities, didn't he?
He did. He was so quietly spoken, but he commanded respect.
Yeah.
And still to this day, you know, he's won everything.
Yeah.
He's done it all, and that's why I think it's only fitting that he gets the statue. And I'm glad we're getting it now. You know, we should have got it maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But he's still doing what he does best. He does lots of charity work. Cooperation Ireland, he's been working for over 25 years now. But he does a lot of work, and he's ambassador for McDonald's. He's ambassador for a lot of very worthy causes.
Brilliant,
so, and I'm pleased to call him a friend. I'm a roommate. We roomed. Well, he had the first 10 years with George Best, and then the next 10 years with me. So that was quite a mix.
Snoring at all, Gerry?
I don't even know. Pat wouldn't even have said to me if I did or not, you know. Yeah. But, you know, there was only one. The night before the Israel game, which was to qualify for the World Cup, Pat had a migraine, and he got them occasionally. Every 1 or 2 years he would get one, and it kept him up at 1 o'clock in the morning. We had to get the doctor. And he was saying, can you get Gerry to another room? And I said, I'm not going to another room. I said, stay with my roommate, you know. And we got him sorted. He got an injection about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then the next morning he woke up, he was as good as gold. Wow. And he went out and did what he normally does and kept a clean sheet against Israel, and we beat them 1-0 and qualified for the World Cup finals.
Brilliant, wow. Amazing stories, amazing memories. Tommy, we've got a gala dinner coming up as well in May, haven't we?
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that on the 28th of May in the Canal Court in Newry, and I believe it's almost sold out, but I think there's still some.
I think there's your tickets already there, Gerry.
That's it. That's a big day. It's going to be a fabulous occasion.
And I'm hearing whispers of some of the names who could be there on the night, so if you have got a ticket, you're in for a pretty special night, aren't you?
It's going to be very special, and I suppose it's indicative of Pat's outreach as well, that so many people want to be there, and people from. He was very friendly with a lot of the people like Luke Kelly and all those people down through the years. And, well, Luke's not around, but a lot of people are and will be want to contribute, because I think in many ways statues are raised to people almost willy-nilly sometimes, and you've got generals who lead people into wars and up on statues all over the place. But Pat was the sort of person who, and is a sort of person, and very much is the sort of person that actually contributes very positively to the well-being of people off the field as well as on it. I often think, you know, as a musician, you play and so on, and you're playing a lot of notes during the night, and that you might hit the odd bum note. But a goalkeeper, he can't hit bum notes. One miss, and it's a goal. Yeah. And it must be, you know, it must be fairly nerve-wracking. But I think he was beyond that. He seemed to be very much content in his ability. Yes.
You know, I talk about Steve Davis and his performances for Northern Ireland. He's a very consistent player, and I always say he's a 7 or 8 out of 10 every game. Pat Jennings was the same. He was always up there, and he would make saves that he had no right to. But we expect it from him now.
Yes,
when you see what he can do, and he expects it from himself. He puts himself under pressure. Yeah. You know, and if he felt he made a mistake, he would criticise himself afterwards and say, and I say, listen, Pat, there's not another keeper in the world could have saved that one that went in, you know, but he's just such a down-to-earth man, and he's great company. And, you know, everybody who's met him, and Tommy's the same, and we all know what a gentleman he is, and what he's contributed to Northern Ireland over a lengthy career.
Exactly. Well, we'll finish the show off with your new song, To Pat. We'll finish with that. Tommy, there's so much I could talk to you about working with Bruce Springsteen and Dylan and people like that, but we'll have to get you back another time to do that.
I'd love to, Robin, sure.
Ken, you're still working away in the music. You're out on tour in Scotland next week, aren't you? And all over
yes, that's right. Doing a tour in Scotland and in Denmark later on, and still at it. It's too late to stop.
Exactly, yeah. Well, Tommy and Gerry, good to see both of you. Thank you so much for coming in. That's all we have time for on the show this week. Thank you to all my guests. Thank you for watching. And to play us out with that fabulous song for Big Pat Jennings, here's Tommy Sands. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Sailing through the air, dying like a swallow, and the crowds go crazy. Soon you hear whisper, no need to fear. Big Pat Jennings is here. Big Pat Jennings is here. Born in Newry City, when it was just a town, and he, a young lad dreaming, playing Gaelic football in the fields of County Down, all those ancient skills receiving. Working in the timber yard, that would be his trade, like his father had done before him. But then one day a letter came, a knock upon the door, a whole new world was calling him. Tell me, did you see him sailing through the air? Dying like a swallow, and the crowds go crazy. No need to fear, Big Pat Jennings is here.